Storm's closing in fast on our position. Looking at this, I would say we've got about...
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today I'm going to talk about 007 First Light. I was actually able to get the early access this week on Tuesday rather than playing it on release day. But anyways, I know I feel like I'm going to get chastised with this, but it's alright. But I really don't care either way. So, truth be told, I'm really enjoying this game so far. You know, with my 10 hours in and playing as James Bond at a younger age and being able to go into this MI6 and being the master espionage spy is one of the most dream come true I've ever played in a game like this. And not only that, truth is that I remember playing GoldenEye on the N64 back in the day, and I loved every single minute of it, not just because it was a first-person shooter, but it was that spy, it was that espionage feel to it, and First Light really capitulates that and captures that so well, and I'm very, very impressed of how this whole entire game really just spans out through different types of chapters, and then within the chapters of the game itself really gives you the idea of what you can do through different types of means. And what I mean by that, what really helps it even more so, it's much like Hitman in a way, only in a way, really, is that the majority of the game gives you alternative pathways of how you can tackle certain types of scenarios, which is what I really like in a game like this, because it gives you that really cool spy espionage type of feel to it, because that's what James Bond is at the core, basically. And I think that's what makes this game even more provocative and even more awestruck and determining of how you can tackle these certain scenarios. You can, drop a chandelier on someone if you want to. You can put someone to sleep, or not really asleep, but you can, intoxicate them with a dart. And then when that happens, it'll make them sick. And then that's basically a form of distraction, and you could be able to pick something off their body. And that is one of the biggest key moments in this game that really helps the spy aspect of the game, that really makes it more exciting. And it's just so well put together. And then the actor, I believe his name is Patrick Gibson, and he does a phenomenal job so far. I recently just went into Chapter 7 last night, actually, before I had to go to bed. And so, again, I think that's where this game really it does a really magnificent job of how far this game is going to go in terms of quantity or quality of the game. And I meant to say quality, pardon me. And so the quality of this game is phenomenal. Each chapter has its own robust and vision, and how it really just circumventates itself to where how abstract it can be in a way, but it's less obtrusive. And what I mean by that, it's very provocative in its own lustful type of way. And within each chapter of the game, like I said again, it's always going to give you that type of feel to where, okay, you have to, or ask yourself, how do I want to tackle a certain type of scenario? That is one of the greatest things that this game really captures. And not only that, it's a James Bond game. And I think that's where, because recently I've been actually went back to rewatching 007 GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan, and it brought back so many memories of watching that film again and realizing of how that really captures into First Light, because this game really gives you that Pierce Brosnan type of feel to it, other than Daniel Craig. Because, Pierce Brosnan, I always thought that he was a younger James Bond, much like this version in this game. And because you can do brawl-outs, you can do gunfights, only when you are licensed to kill, okay? Which is good, because it gives you that alternative way to, well, do I want to, go beyond stealth, and that when I go into a license to kill, you can kill people. But you can go through certain chapters in the game, of course, obviously, through stealth completely without getting noticed. Or sometimes when you do get noticed, you still have that amplitude or amplitude of knocking your enemies out pretty quickly rather than any other enemies in the game to really notice you. And that is where this game really does an awesome job as well. Now, with the impressions that I'm having with this game so far as well is the combat. You know, the gunplay is really good. It's fluid. It's solid. I love the way how it fluctuates so well within the world of the game. And you can do headshots. Obviously, you can go down in slow motion, like, you know, welcome to the Matrix type of feel in a way when you have that ability to slow down time a little bit and going for the kill, whether if you want to do incapacitation by kneecapping enemies, or you can just go for the automatic headshots if you want to as well. That is what's really cool about this game too. And overall, I would say this game not only sold 1.24 million copies over 24 hours, which is insane. And it just goes to show you that when you have a strong IP, much like, you know, original Halo back in the day on 2001, that sold a lot. But I know that's kind of a dumb comparison, but I'm just trying to have a little bit of a comparison there, just a little bit there. So, again, though, this is greatly impressive, especially when it comes to an IP for James Bond, whether if it's a film or a video game, much like 007 GoldenEye back on the N64. And that's what I'm saying, you know, playing that game back in the day and then realizing how big that game was back in the day and how big this game actually ended up getting with those 1.24 million copies sold worldwide over within a span of 24 hours. Again, it's just remarkable. And it just goes to show you that of how strong an IP like this of a game can be. And to my understanding as well, I think IO Entertainment, or Interactive, excuse me, is going to be making more Bond games, to my understanding, because of the success that they had with this game that just recently released of this week. So I think that's really awesome. I'm glad that they are going to have more enhancements along the way when it comes to these types of games in general. And it's just the overall structure of this game really just utilizes a lot of things that I've always wanted in a James Bond film or even a game, which this is. But again, it's just like, you know, it just brings me back in a GoldenEye first-person shooter aspect, but it's not a first-person shooter. It's a third-person shooter, action-adventure, spy, espionage type of game. And I think that's what makes it so great. Now, one thing I do want to say here, though, too, when it comes to this game, too, for the most part, and in final here, is that if you are a huge James Bond fan like I am, I highly recommend playing this game. Other than I said, like, I put only 10 hours in, and I'm not even remotely finished with this game yet, because I'm enduring the quality of this game. I like everything all about it, and I think that's where a lot of people should be very excited for a game like this. I know games like this are a little bit of a niche as well, because, you know, not all games are going to be tailored to you, but again, it shouldn't have to matter, because if you are tailored to games like this, you will like this game perfectly or in general, because it's just one of those games to where you know you're going to like it because you played games like this of this type of similar type of genre or gameplay specific style. So I think that's what makes this game even more remarkable. So anyway, so much further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jake from Citizen JV. But if you like this type of content, please feel free to put a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.